My name is Abdullah ibn Muhammad, and I was born and live on the island of Bahrain in the Persian Gulf. This was a very happy day for me as we drove John Winters and I across the island to my home on the west coast. John was an old friend who had been my host and my guide while I was studying in Europe 2 years ago. And now, for a few days, I was going to be able to show him my island and my home and the way my people live and work. This was John's first visit to the East, and he was full of questions and amazement at the varied scene as we drove from the busy streets of Manama out into the sunlit country. At home, my father was waiting to greet our guest and to entertain him in the manner which is traditional to us. Two of my brothers and some friends were there as well to meet us. Over coffee in the garden, we discussed among ourselves a schedule for John's visit, and that same afternoon he and I started off on a sightseeing tour. my country's history reaches far back into the past. Vast burial grounds stretch across the landscape, perhaps the last resting place of the earliest inhabitants of this island 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. To probe that history, archaeologists have come from Denmark and piece by piece are unearthing the ancient story of our island. Time-honored methods of drawing water and of washing clothes still persist side by side with all the amenities of modern technology. And today, I was able to take John to see one of the results of the progress we have achieved. On this desert island, because of our efforts in employing modern methods of irrigation and farming technique, we are now able to grow crops and flowers and to rear livestock and poultry which 50 years ago were but a dream. For centuries, dates have been one of our staple products, and today, with improved methods, it is possible for us to grow a much wider range of products. I thought John had seen enough for one day, and we were going home, but the children playing among the date palms altered our plans. The boy who was hurt was my brother's son, young Ali ibn Hamad. Though the damage to his leg did not appear to be very serious, he was obviously in great pain, and we decided to get him to a doctor as quickly as possible. The accident to little Ali and our visit to the village clinic with him on his first day in Bahrain opened John's eyes to the progress we had made with our medical services. So next morning, I took him to two of our new hospitals. As well as the clinics which we have established in many of the villages, our medical department has in recent years been responsible for a great expansion in its services. Both the TB hospital, which I showed to John, and the maternity hospital are equipped to most up-to-date standards. And every year, development continues. New hospitals are built, new training centers opened to meet the needs of our people. The capital city of Bahrain, the busy town of Manama, is the center of the island's life and work. Some people say that the ancient Phoenicians, the ancestors of all boat builders, started in Bahrain. Whether that's true or not, we Bahrainis have built boats for centuries and sailed them across the oceans of the eastern world. For centuries, we have been sea-going people, and our seaboard is always crowded with craft of every description, bearing goods of all kinds to and from the ports of the world. Today, Manama is a free port, and its harbor facilities are continuously being expanded with an ever-increasing volume of trade. Like islanders the world over, our people are fishermen. And here, once again, we see the old and the new side by side. Ancient dhows sail out to the fishing grounds, crossing the lanes used by modern oil tankers. Inshore fishermen with a variety of traps still fish in the same way as their ancestors have done for hundreds of years. Once a year, the pearling fleet drops anchor out in the Gulf. Pearl diving is probably our oldest industry, and from earliest times Bahrain has been famous for its pearls. In fact, it is said that Bahrain pearl is the finest and most delicately colored in the world. The pearling ships are equipped with special oars with square blades, and these are tied so that they project over the water while diving is going on. Each diver has a mate whose job it is to haul the diver to the surface as soon as he has collected enough oysters, or when he can hold his breath no longer. These men can stay 12 fathoms down on the ocean bed for as long as 1.5 minutes at a stretch. And in this time, they will collect up to a dozen oysters. At dawn, each day, the oysters are opened, and even the tiniest seed pearls are treasured and sold by weight, while as much as 15,000 pounds was once paid for just one Bahraini pearl. Next day, I took John to visit Ali's school, one of many which have been built during the last 10 years. Years ago, Bahrain had but 2 primary schools. Today, there are more than 30 boys' schools and 13 girls' schools, as well as a technical college. While we were watching a game of softball, I told John about the club I belonged to at Mahrak and suggested that he come and watch our football match that evening against a European team. Not many years ago, oil was found under the sands of Bahrain. A new industry flowered, and in the south of the island, as if out of the desert, pipes and tanks appeared on the landscape. This was the apparatus to bring the oil from the ground to the great refinery on the east coast. And today, the search goes on for new sources of oil, and new wells are drilled to increase production. On our way north again from the oil fields, John and I drove through Al-Awali. This town is the brain center for over 5,000 of my countrymen who live and work with British and American engineers to produce this new wealth which has meant so much to Bahrain. The refinery, which is one of the largest in the Middle East, handles over 186,000 barrels of oil each day. Its output includes the full range of refined petroleum products, from asphalt to high-octane aviation fuel, and these are piped to the waiting ships at Sitra Wharf or to the drum plant nearby. It was John's last day on the island and the opening day of our annual fair and agricultural show. His Highness, our ruler, Sheik Sir Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, was leaving his palace when we got there to motor the 10 miles to Manama where the festivities were to take place. I was proud and happy that John's last impression of Bahrain should be so colorful and so instructive. It was sad to say goodbye to so good a friend. One day I shall visit Europe again, and perhaps one day John will come back here. In his short stay, he has seen something of my country and its people, something of our industry and the development of our resources, something of our traditions and our cultural heritage. He has looked back at our past, and we have shown him that we are looking forward to our future.